keep ending up dating the wrong person? You tell yourself, this time is going to be different. But somehow, it's like you're stuck in a loop, choosing people who just aren't right for you. It's not just bad luck, and it's not that we're hopeless romantics who can't make good decisions. It's actually something called cognitive biases. And while they're useful in many situations, they can also trip us up, especially when it comes to love and relationships. One of the biggest culprits is the halo effect. This is when we let one good quality about someone completely overshadow everything else. Maybe the person you're dating is really attractive, or they have an amazing job, or they make you laugh. And because of that one trait, we tend to overlook red flags or things that aren't good fit for us. Think about it. How many times have you overlooked bad behavior because the person just seemed so perfect in one area? You meet someone who's kind of rude to others, or maybe they don't have the same values as you, but you brush it off because they're so charming. The halo effect tricks us into thinking that because someone is great in one way, they must be great in all ways. But the truth is, no one's perfect, and it's important to see people for who they fully are. I guess you're thinking, but what if that one great quality is enough? Well, let me tell you, I've been there. I once dated someone who was incredibly smart. I mean, their intelligence was magnetic. I found myself overlooking things that really mattered to me, like kindness and emotional availability, because I was so drawn to their intellect. It wasn't until later I realized I let the halo effect blind me to what was actually going on. And it didn't work out. Surprise, surprise. Another bias that leads us astray is the confirmation bias. This one's tricky because it's all about how we filter information. Once we have decided that someone is right for us, we start to only notice the things that confirm our belief. We ignore or downplay the things that don't fit our narrative. Let's say you're dating someone and you have convinced yourself they're the one. You've made up your mind. Now, every time they do something nice, you think, see, this is proof that they are great. But when they do something hurtful or inconsiderate, you shrug it off as no big deal, or worse, you make excuses for it. That's confirmation bias in action. You've decided on the outcome, and now your brain is only seeing the information that supports it. But what if, instead of jumping to conclusions, we paused and asked ourselves, am I really seeing the full picture here? Being aware of confirmation bias can help you stop overlooking those warning signs and give you a clearer view of who the person really is, not just who you want them to be. Then there's the scarcity bias, and this one gets us all the time. It's the idea that when something feels rare or limited, we want it more. This bias can be a big factor in why we stay in bad relationships. We convince ourselves that this person is a rare find, or that if we let them go, we'll never find someone like them again. Maybe they're giving you just enough affection to keep you hooked. Or maybe you have been single for a while and you're scared of being alone. That fear of scarcity makes us hold on tighter, even when deep down we know it's not a good fit. I remember a time when I was in a relationship that just wasn't healthy, but I stayed because I was convinced that I wouldn't find anyone else who understood me the way she did. Looking back, I can see that scarcity's bias was keeping me stuck. The reality is, there are plenty of people out there who can be a better match for us. But this bias tricks us into thinking we need to settle for less. Let me ask you this. How often have you stayed in a relationship because it felt like your only option? Or maybe because you thought good ones are hard to come by? That's scarcity bias in action. The truth is, you don't have to settle. There are always another opportunity. But this bias makes us panic, and in that panic, we make poor choices. Another bias that creeps into our dating lives is some calls fallacy. This is when we keep investing in something because we've already put so much into it, even if it's not working. In relationships, this looks like staying with someone because you've already spent years together, or you've moved in, or maybe you've invested emotionally. You tell yourself, I've put so much into this, I can't just walk away now. But what's the cost of staying? Imagine you're on a road trip and you realize you're going the wrong way. Do you keep driving just because you've already gone so far? Or do you turn around to get back on the right track? In relationships, the sunk cost fallacy can keep us driving further down a road that isn't going anywhere. It's hard to let go, but sometimes the bravest thing we can do is acknowledge when it's time to turn around. And then there's familiarity bias. This is when we feel more comfortable with things we know. Even if they aren't good for us, we're drawn to what feels familiar. And in dating, that can mean repeating patterns. Dating the same type of person, even if it hasn't worked out in the past. If you've ever found yourself thinking, why do I always attract the same type of people? This might be why. Your brain is wired to find comfort in what it knows, even if what it knows isn't what you need. I've seen this in my friends. For a while, they were drawn to people who had similar qualities to past partners, even though those relationships didn't work out. It was almost like they were unconsciously repeating the same story, expecting a different ending. But when we start to recognize that familiarity bias, we can become more intentional about breaking those patterns and opening ourselves up to different kinds of people. People who might actually be a better fit. So, how do we stop cognitive biases from leading us into relationships that aren't right for us? First, we need to slow down. Biases love to work when we're rushing, when we're not taking time to really reflect. When you're getting to know someone, take your time. Don't let the excitement or pressure of finding someone cloud your judgment. Ask yourself questions like, am I seeing this person clearly? Or am I being influenced by a bias? It's okay to take a step back and evaluate. Second, be honest with yourself. If you notice red flags, don't ignore them. If you feel like you're making excuses for someone, take a closer look. Are you falling into the trap of confirmation bias or the halo effect? Are you holding on because of scarcity bias or sunk cost fallacy? The more honest you can be with yourself, the better choices you'll make. Third, seek feedback. Sometimes we're so deep in a relationship that it's hard to see things objectively. Talk to friends or people you trust. Ask them how you see the situation. Often, they can see things that we can't, and they can help you get a clearer perspective. And lastly, trust that you deserve a relationship that truly fulfills you, not one where you're overlooking major issues. The right person for you is out there, but finding them starts with becoming aware of how your own mind can lead you astray. Once you can recognize those cognitive biases, you'll be able to make better choices and ultimately find a relationship that's based on real connection, not just a trick of the mind. So, next time you're dating, remember to ask yourself, am I seeing this person for who they really are? Or are my cognitive biases playing tricks on me? By being aware of these mental shortcuts, you'll be able to date with more clarity and confidence. And that's something we all deserve, don't you think? Here's another video you may be interested in. See you around at IntelliWorks.